Yo, 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 what it is, what it was, what's it gonna be?
Welcome.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Gen Expertise podcast, episode 38, entitled Control-Alt-Delete. We are your hosts, Main and Rants,
Welcome.
We Are Legend. Yo,
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, you
Good
like
one.
that? You like that
Yeah,
title,
that's
son?
a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, son.
That works. That works.
That works. But, man, before we even start, son, I got to get this off my chest. This is a rant, yo. I got a rant.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Rant. So there's a rumor circulating, all right, that McDonald's is about to introduce a $54 or $56 a month unlimited food subscription. Did you hear about this?
I did hear about it. I couldn't tell if it was real or not because it's all like Instagram news.
It's all Instagram.
I can't tell what's real or not. Yeah.
But sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, and one marketing ploy is to throw something that may seem ridiculous just to see if the public bites.
It out. Yeah.
Just to see if they bite. And if they bite, you know what I mean? It's on deck. And if y'all do this, this is diabolical, son. Yo, this is diabolical. This is like Austin Powers' Dr. Evil diabolical plan, son.
Yeah, I didn't think about that before you just said that, but it might just be a tester. It might be something, even if it's not real right now.
Yeah.
Maybe they just threw it out there just to see how people will respond. And if people respond positively, then they can make it something real easily. Like it's something they could turn on pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, it is pretty diabolical. And the worst part is if they succeed in doing that, which they probably will. Like if you get a subscription service for something like that, and it kind of but it encourages you rather to go there more often than you would even normally, right? Like, so even if you're like a once a week or once a month McDonald's person, if you had a subscription service, you're going to go there just because you got that subscription, whatever, right?
Absolutely.
But if they're successful with that, that's a model for every other fast food restaurant to go there, right?
Yeah.
So look out for the subscription to Burger King and Wendy's.
Popeyes. You think people going crazy for those chicken sandwiches?
The subscription to Popeyes?
Oh my God.
It's gonna be worse than Amazon.
It's gonna be crazy. Remember when Oprah shut down KFC with the coupons for the grilled chicken when the grilled chicken came out? You don't
Honestly,
remember that?
I don't. Oh yeah, the grilled chicken. Yes, I do remember that.
Oprah shut down KFC, son. She was giving out the free sample of the when KFC introduced
and didn't
the grill.
people get mad because they found out that they were cooking it with like beef fat or something, or they were using beef flavoring or something to grill it? I believe exactly.
So, but they were mad because they could not. They had more tickets than they had chicken, bro. And it was. You think the Popeyes chicken fiasco was off the chain?
It was though.
Google the Oprah Winfrey KFC debacle, son, and you will see this fast food thing is OD out of control. And I think
Did anybody get hurt?
I think so.
As a result of that one,
people got hurt.
Because people got hurt as a result of Popeyes one.
I believe some people got hurt because of that, man. So that was crazy. The Oprah Winfrey KFC debacle, son. Grilled chicken, which they just removed from the menu. I heard they just finally got rid of it.
Jeez.
But Mickey D's, if the Golden Arches, we gonna call them the Arches, the evil Arches, son. If y'all go through with this is diabolical. And last thing of the rant. I just want you guys out there to think of this. You know how much food is nowadays, how much food costs. You know what I mean? You spend $200, you come back home with one bag now for the groceries. What kind of food do you think they are using to give you a $54 subscription, monthly subscription? I just want you to think about that. I just want you to think about the quality of that food, the quality of that meat that you will be getting for monthly unlimited specials.
Yeah. I don't think they hear you though, but yeah, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's absurd. Okay, I just had to get that one. I just had to get that one off my chest, yo. I had to.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's worthy of a rant. It's worthy of a rant.
Yes. So, we always refer back to old episodes, and so far we did the episode how we remembered the pandemic and how we survived the pandemic, how we got through the pandemic.
Right.
That was Survival of the Fittest Part 1, I believe, right? And then we did the
I think
Survival of the
so.
Fittest Part 2, how we would survive if things shut down, how
Right.
we would prepare, supplies, duct tape, etc. But now, what would happen to the planet if we just weren't here? And that's what today's episode is about. That's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah.
That's crazy.
No humans on the planet. Just what the planet will be like without us, without humans. And today we have a special book that I have, and I'm starting to bring visuals like you now.
Oh, nice. No, I love it.
The World Without Us by Alan Weissman. So we're going to go
Nice.
into this book and talk about this book, about what the world would be like without us. The book was written in 2007. Yes, I believe 2007. And it's a good read because it basically, like I said, it just talks about what's going to happen to the planet with no humans on it.
Right.
And if you've seen The Matrix, also The Matrix and I Am Legend with Will Smith kind of
Right.
brought some inspiration along with us, as well as we talk about this. We were just talking about this as well as what would happen if humans were not here. And there's a part in in The Matrix where Agent Smith says, and I always like to quote this when he says that he can't stand us because humans are a virus.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because I was having this conversation not too long ago with somebody, and we were talking about how humans have both like a positive effect and a negative effect on the earth, obviously, right? Like so, and then it begs the question of whether or not we're making progress or are we just getting in the way of kind of Earth's natural cycles, right? Because something like you mentioned, like COVID, right? Like we talked about COVID a couple of episodes, or how we survived COVID. But what we also touched on, I think briefly, is that the earth kind of heals itself when we take a break, right?
Yes.
So to speak, right? Like, so if we kind of stop going in the road and we stop emitting, gas fumes, if we just stay home for a while, you find that the water gets a little cleaner, the air is a little, a little cleaner. There's places in the world where they saw like visible change, like in China, they saw a visible change in the sky itself, right? Like in San Francisco, they saw that there was change in the breathable air. Because San Francisco is a place that's known for its not only its population but also for a polluted sky as a result.
It's
right?
smog.
Smog. So just stuff like that. I know we're gonna touch on this a lot, but the idea that if we took a break for a little while, the earth would actually heal itself. And it begs the question, are we making progress all the time as a species and with our technology and so on? Or are we just in the way of kind of a more of like a paradise utopian Earth? I'm exaggerating a little bit about that part, but you know what I mean? Like we might be kind of prohibiting nature,
Yes.
in a lot of ways, right? Like, because we're paving over everything, we're always using fuel, we're heating up things with the way we live. We're making products all the time, like we talked about in a couple of episodes ago, like where we're making products, we're always consuming, we're always purchasing, but as a result of our consumption, we're also putting out a lot of waste into the environment. So we're constantly cycling through plastics and synthetics and all types of stuff, all types of chemicals in the air because of us. So, we're kind of masters and we have dominion over this place, but what are we doing with that responsibility, right?
And it
So
makes you think, like, do we really have dominion over this place, or are we just like the
that's
worst roommates ever? Like we're like the roommates that you find in Craigslist or Backpage.
or college.
Yes, you know what I mean? Like eating all the food out your fridge that your mom sent you the care package. You know what I'm saying? They eating your Dinty Moore beef stew and all that stuff, and all your oodles and
or your
noodles,
Vienna sausages
all
and
your Vienna
your
sausage and that
potted
old
meat,
nasty boxed mac and cheese, that nuclear
eating up
colored boxed
all the
mac and
potted
cheese.
meat.
Yes, son. You know, it's like, yo, and then never replenish it, never buying anything, never gets a
Yeah.
pimp, never refills the fridge, nothing,
That's a
son.
good but that's a good point. Like it begs the question, do we really have dominion over this place, or are we just kind of like you said, like are we just like kind of like a virus or some sort of parasite on the earth almost, like just
Yeah.
dumping.
Yeah, nothing on this planet uses up resources. No mammal, no insects, nothing uses up resources like a human. Like we just lay waste to anything and everything that we touch, it seems sometimes. And we've already talked about sustainability. Um, but what would happen if we were just gone? And
Right.
this book, The World Without Us, talks about such a thing, and he breaks it down into minutes, days, years, decades, centuries, and basically how long can the world go on without us. And to start, he talks about the first couple of things that will go, like in the first minutes and days, power plants fail and pumps stop working, and there'll be a global blackout. Of course, he used New York City as an example, and a fact that I found out that um 13 to 14 million gallons of groundwater and rainwater get pumped out of daily of the subway systems.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have 250 pumps going nonstop, and 60% of the subway system is below the water table.
I didn't know that.
So within minutes, if we just automatically disappear,
Right.
right? Those people that are manning these 250 pumps that are working round clock, that are troubleshooting, that are problem solving, that are making sure everything runs smoothly. Something's going to go wrong within the first few minutes, hours, and days, and those are going to stop. And that right there is one of the first starts of our ending, and the quickest start, because now you get the flood. Now you have 13 million gallons of water not being pumped out, and the subway system is just going to just overflow, and that water is going to rise.
That is, yeah, that is pretty crazy, and it leads me to think about like all drinkable water and like
Hmm.
the systems that people are manning to make sure that we have drinkable water. Like people are monitoring systems,
Hmm.
people are actually kind of working on that on a regular basis, right? Like that's kind of a daily task for
Hmm.
folks. So if people just start disappearing, then
Yeah,
one of the first things to go is drinkable water. But then again, what does it matter if there's no
there's
people here?
nobody there to drink it.
Just yeah, like if there's no people here, like obviously,
Hmm.
like some of the things that we do to as maintenance are gonna be the first things to go.
Animals have no problem drinking polluted water. We're the only ones that really need our water crystal clear, son. You
Sure,
know, we're really not built to survive. It's when you think of certain
right,
things, we're made to adapt. Humans are made to adapt. I believe the animal kingdom is more built to survive, and we adapt to anything, whether it's
right.
finding ways to filter water, making fire. They just eat everything raw.
And this is another thing. Like we talked about this before, how like water is one of those things that we're really not prepared if the systems do collapse. Like even if
Yeah.
we forget about for a second if humans were to disappear off the face of the earth, but just in case there's some issue, just in general with a systemic breakdown, we're not really
Mhm.
ready for a systemic breakdown. At least most of us, right? And I guess I could speak for myself and maybe like my immediate family and friends. I don't think people are really ready for just like a few days of hearing on the news or something that the water's not safe to drink, right? Because
Yeah.
if there's a power outage and there's no water treatment, there's no filtration systems in that are functioning. What if you did hear for 3 days? And I know this is not really the topic today, but it just makes me think back, like, and I just want to kind of reiterate a little bit, man, like to encourage people to think through that.
Mhm.
What if just for a few days there's no filtration of water, there's no treatment of water, and then you hear on the news or you hear from a friend or you're on your Instagram and in your town, they say, hey, it's not safe to drink any of the water that's coming out of your tap. Make sure you do not drink the water that's coming out of your tap. Like, what are you gonna do? Do you have any sort of filtration system that you can use? Are you storing any sort of water?
Mhm.
Yeah, just like what's your plan? But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
back to the
yeah,
topic. Like,
yeah.
I don't mean that to segue.
Basically, you turn into like New Jersey because you know New Jersey is known for
Yo, shout
having
out to New Jersey. I'm not going there.
undrinkable water.
You know
You
what?
know what I mean?
Shout out
To
to New Jersey.
Jersey. I have a lot of family and friends in Jersey,
I
but
lived
they
in New
don't drink
Jersey
that
for
water either.
I lived in New Jersey for a while, and we did have a Brita pitcher.
Yeah. So that's what happens in the first few minutes and days. And then they go for years and decades, which is infrastructure starts to collapse and then the vegetation starts to break through. So you know how hard it is now if you have a lawn or even if like in the and sometimes the sidewalks in front of your home, you think you have weed killer, you weed whack, you do all of this
Yeah,
stuff, but it still manages to come through. Now there is no stopping it, you know?
right, right,
And roots break concrete. So after a few years and decades, you'll start seeing the vegetation start coming back through and the weakening of building structures. And then they say he says in centuries, in like 500 years, you'll start seeing these buildings start to collapse, totally start collapsing
right.
because of the water damage, because of the rust, because of whatever's wood is wearing down and getting old. If you have a home, you know how bad a water leak can can be for your home, for anyone who's a homeowner. So that'll happen within like 500 years. You'll have total collapse of buildings and infrastructure. And that's all within a few centuries.
Right.
Minutes, he has minutes to
So it,
days to years to centuries.
right. So that's an interesting one too, because I was reading about that part, and you start to think about the fact that if we cease to exist, right, eventually everything that we've built as a society, as humans, will cease to exist, and there will be no real record of kind of what we would see as our greatness, so
Mm,
to speak, right? Or like kind of the buildings and everything that we built act as sort of monuments to our intelligence, our progress, the work that we've put in, stuff like that, right? Like as a human species. So I was thinking about that. Have you ever heard of Ozymandias?
no.
So it's kind of a famous poem, right? And you may have heard it and just not realized it, or just like not paid any attention, but it comes up every once in a while. Like, have you ever heard of have you ever watched Breaking Bad, the
Yeah,
TV
Walter
show?
White.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Breaking Bad show, Ozymandias comes up because in Breaking Bad, there's kind of like a hubris that Walter White goes through, where he feels like he's on the top, and he's kind of the center of the universe because
Mm-hmm.
of everything he's doing, right? But Ozymandias, it's a poem, basically a sonnet written by, and I'm not pronouncing this right, so forgive me, but I think it's Bysshe or Bishay Shelley,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's about a pharaoh, Ramses II, also known as Ozymandias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the poem is really about a traveler who comes across these ancient Egyptian ruins, right? And it's like a gigantic, I think, pair of feet. Um, and there's kind of an inscription, and it says, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sand stretch far away." So right, so these are the words. These are the last words in the sonnet. Right, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the last paragraph of this sonnet. Right, it's a short poem. But the point is that this traveler sees this monument, but he sees it in complete decay, right? And then, the words at the bottom of it are, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what this really speaks to is like humankind's what we think of ourselves, basically, right? Even the mightiest kings, the greatest kingdoms in the world, the biggest monuments, eventually they crumble to dust. And it speaks to kind of the transient nature of humankind, everything that we've created, right? And it also speaks to kind of the lasting power of time and nature. Like,
Mm-hmm.
time is the big killer of things. Nature will be here long after we're gone. When I say nature, I mean like the animals, the earth itself. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Oh, we're destroying the earth," right? Like, I've heard that before. Like, when we talk about the environment, especially like when we talk, like we were talking in the episode about survival, when we talk about stuff like even the consumerism and how we're dumping a lot of waste into the environment, what comes up is that we're destroying the earth, right? Like, I hear that sometimes as a quote, right? But really, what we're doing is a little more profound than that in terms of our existence. What we're doing is we're not destroying the earth, we're destroying our ability to continue to live on the earth, right? And to
Yes.
me, that's why this conversation is relevant, because we're reaching a point where Alan Weissman's book is becoming more relevant. It's funny that you said he wrote this in 2007,
Mhm.
right? And this predates COVID. It predates some of the things that we've gone through as of late, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting to an inflection point where we're not going to destroy the earth, but we are going to do something that becomes kind of untenable in terms of our ability to continue to exist in the way that we have, right? For better or worse, right? Depending on who you are, but I feel like we're reaching that inflection point. So Ozymandias is a big example of kind of human hubris in the face of not really of the unknown, basically not knowing your future. You think that things will always be this way, like you'll always have dominion over this place. You'll always look at these monuments that you created. People will always kind of look at you and tremble, right? Because you're great. But even the mightiest king, like I said, eventually they die. Eventually, all the monuments they created will crumble, right?
Mhm.
Same goes for any of us. All of us are going to perish eventually, and anything that we created is eventually going to perish, right? Like, so and I'm not saying that to be like kind of doom and gloom about it, but it
Mhm.
should give us a different type of reverence for things. It should give us like almost an urgency to kind of treat things with a little more, um, respect, right? So yeah, I'm sorry to go off on a.
Yeah. No, I mean they talk about this, and he does talk about the things that will last, and that's one of the topics that they touch upon. What will last when we are gone, and it's like all of the worst things. So
That's the other crazy thing. Like that, it's not going to be like the things that we might think of right away.
yeah.
It's going to be the things that we kind of made mistakes on that are going to
Yeah.
last.
Yeah, like polymers and plastics,
Right,
because plastics won't break down. He said it'll just become tinier little pieces and become part of the ecosystem.
right,
Art, digital art, like most art will be destroyed, except for, I think they said, he mentioned like Mount Rushmore would probably be around for thousands of years to come. He said bronze statues, real physical art will be around. Ceramics would be around, ceramics, and which makes sense because when you have the archaeologists, they're always digging up and finding like the pots. One of the first
right.
things they find as a clue for civilization is like their cooking pots or their
Yeah.
or their
I
urns and
was
stuff like that.
I'm laughing at that because every once in a while, like I get into this conversation about museums and actually the fact that a lot of artifacts get stolen, obviously. Like they call it like excavation and they take it and they discover
Mm-hmm.
it, right? Quote unquote, discover things. And then next thing you know, it's in a glass case in some museum, right?
Yeah.
But I, I was laughing with somebody about this, how, picture like 1,000 years from now, people come to your house and they find like your plates that were in your cabinet, right? And
Yeah.
then they put them in a museum, and it's like, oh, this is the ancient ritual plate of the Cooper family, like
Yeah.
and it's really just a plate you like to use when you had a midnight snack. It's just a plate, and now it's behind a glass case.
It's my peanut butter and jelly plate. And it's like
Yeah.
this is what they did to have ceremonies, and this was the plate that they ate off of. This was the plate. So this was probably from the head or the chief of the household or the
Yeah.
clan. And this is all I did was like make peanut butter and jelly
Yeah, they
sandwiches
don't
on it.
know. They don't know it's the sacred peanut butter and jelly sandwich plate.
Yeah,
But
it's the
yeah, I mean,
it's the
sometimes it's
Santa
that.
Claus chocolate chip cookie plate, yo.
But we don't think of these things because those some of the artifacts that they find are so old that we don't think of them as just like mundane objects that
Yeah,
someone just used on a day-to-day basis.
yeah,
And
man.
next thing you know, like we're making people pay to come see them, when it's really just a cup or just a plate.
Yeah.
But, but yeah,
Yeah, it's something simple. But something that they did say also would last?
what's that?
Radio waves.
Yeah,
He said that he goes back and says that the first I Love Lucy episode, which was October 15th, 1951, is
right. They
already
sent that out into space, right?
70 light years away.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it said it's already 70 light years away. So what's that? That's 75 years ago. So if we all disappeared right now, um 75 years, the Gen Expertise podcast will be broadcasting 70 light years away. So if this is what somebody picks up on their on their transmission, they're not gonna know what this planet was all about, son. They're gonna be if
Yeah.
you hear this voice broken up, but they said that as billions of years away, like the radio waves don't. I thought that was really interesting because I had no idea that
Yeah, I didn't
radio
know that
waves are
until I read that.
basically like immortal. They are forever. They
Yeah,
just keep.
I didn't know that either. And it's interesting because that also speaks to our need to kind of be remembered and survive, and like
Yeah,
our thirst for like I don't know, immortality
yeah,
in whatever form we can get it. Right.
hmm
Yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. But you
yeah.
know what, the
That's
other thing that he said is gonna last is radiation. Not
yes,
not just radio waves, but he's saying like one of the other
radiation.
legacies that we have, because he actually is calling these legacies, right? Like again, it's
Yeah,
an interesting thing. It's an interesting way to describe it, because one legacy is, like you said, like the pieces of plastic that we're gonna leave that are just never gonna degrade. All these little tiny pieces of plastic that are used, especially to make polymers and to melt down and create things. That stuff that's not gonna go away. And then all the waste products that we use that are plastic are gonna break down, and they've already broken down to a large extent. Some of them are at the bottom of the ocean. They're finding pieces of plastic in fish that would usually be on the bottom of the ocean,
yeah,
and it's like, that goes to show how many microplastics and how many pieces of plastic are actually in the ocean.
hmm
He's saying that this will mix into the sand eventually, like where sand and beaches all around the world are going to be like not only have sand but little tiny pieces of plastic mixed in.
hmm
But the other thing that we're going to leave as a legacy, quote unquote, is radioactive materials that are coming from literal plants
hmm
that will no longer be maintained. Because if you go to a
yes,
nuclear plant, a large part of people's job in a nuclear plant is to make sure that they're cooled, right? To
yeah,
make sure that they're controlling the temperature. And if there's no people on Earth, what's going to happen is eventually those places are going to overheat. There's going to be some sort of explosion, some sort of leaks, and that radioactive matter is going to get into the atmosphere, and it's gonna last for I don't even remember how long. How long do you remember how long he said?
I
But
can't remember how
pretty
long
much
he said, but he said pretty much like
it's gonna take a long
it's gonna take a
time
super long
before
time.
before the Earth recovers from that, right?
Yeah, and he used Chernobyl he was talking about Chernobyl, how he was saying that there have been like wildlife has returned, animals have returned, but of course we're no longer welcome there. Basically, you know what I
Right.
mean? Humans, you don't want to go there, but the animals, the birds, the wolves have returned, but there's still traces of radioactivity. So the fish may have like two heads, or the wolf may be like some of these animals are deformed every now and
I
then.
don't,
They're
I
able
don't,
to live.
I don't mean to laugh
Yes.
at
So
this,
the
man,
wolves,
but
the wild boars, but it's still always going to be a trace there because it's like in the
yeah.
soil, it's in the ground, it's in the water that they're drinking. And then when they die, they go into the earth and they get recycled. So it all like is a continuous recycling of this radioactivity.
And let me stop you there because I gotta explain. Wow, like, because this is real serious, and I'm laughing for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I know this is serious, and I don't mean to laugh at this, but the only reason I'm laughing is because when you said the fish might have two heads,
Simpsons?
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, my
Yes.
Gen X brother. Remember
Yes.
that episode of The Simpsons when they first discovered the fish with the three eyes?
Was that when the EPA came, the environmental protection, but the
I think
fish had three
so.
eyes. That's a famous episode, the
Yeah,
fish with three
that's a
eyes. Yeah,
famous
they make
episode. Like
T-shirts and
if
all
you go
types
to
of stuff over
if
that.
you go to Universal
Mhm,
Studios to this day,
mhm,
they have a whole Simpsons kind of like a Simpsons world basically,
mhm.
where you go in and everything is the Simpsons. You can go to the bar and get Duff.
Yeah.
There's a quickie mart and all that stuff, but there's a specific area like where you do see that a picture of that fish. But that's why I was laughing. I didn't mean to like like as
Yeah.
soon as you said that, that episode came to mind, and that fish and how
Soon
they
as
were
I read it, that's what I thought about.
they were trying to act like that was like perfectly normal. They're like, it's just part of the evolution.
Yeah, like it's some type of exotic fish, and it's like the new type of fish. Fish had three eyes, yo. So they
That's
do.
a
There
Gen
are
X. That's a
remnants.
Gen X memory. But yeah,
Yes, there are remnants. Yo, there's a lot of people that as soon as I said that, they thought about that.
yeah. I
A
hope
lot of
so. I
people
hope it wasn't
just
just
thought
me and
about
you.
that, yo.
I'm
Yeah,
hoping I hope it wasn't just me and you. But yeah,
so those are the remnants. And then he said space materials like satellites, debris, satellite debris, probes, things of that nature, radio systems, those will be around. Not quite for forever, but for a very, very, very long time. But even under such, and wasn't it in one of the Superman movies where the nuclear plant was about to explode and everything was like turning red, and it was like the gauge was going off the chain, and he had to come and use like
was
his
it?
super breath. The
I think
Christopher
that
Reeve
was
Superman. That's the old
was
Superman.
that was that Superman 4, like where he's fighting that he's actually fighting like
The
a
dude that Lex Luthor made in the sun
yeah,
with the
yeah.
nuclear rocket.
Right,
It
right.
might be without. No, number
Because
three
because
was
because
Richard Pryor.
because that guy was almost like made out of some sort of radioactive material.
Yeah, he put his embryo in the nuke when
Yeah.
Superman took all the nukes from the planet and threw them into the sun.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he was able to kind of hurt Superman a little bit, like he scratched him or something, and
yeah, it tore him up.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if it was that one or I'm pretty sure it had it. I think it had to be that one because the third one was where Richard Pryor was in it, and that
Hmm.
one was a little bit different.
Yeah,
That was the one where it was an evil version
where
of
he split
himself.
in half.
Yeah, because I think he got exposed to red kryptonite, and then he
Yeah.
started to turn evil. Then he kind of split in half and fought himself, and
Hmm.
he beat his evil self. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going off on a little
He was like
tangent here.
yeah, he was busting up the bar with like cashews after he was
Yeah,
hitting
yeah,
cash
yeah.
and
He
just
was plucking the
put
nuts at the bottles, and then even like Lana Lane, he went over to her house, and he was acting
yeah.
kind of like
He was acting
different.
sleazy.
He's acting
Yeah.
different. Yeah, he's acting real different. She was like, "Aren't you gonna go save those people?" And he's like, "Nah, I always make it there in
It's like,
time."
nah, they'd be all right. But what's up with us?
He was like, he goes, "I always get there in time."
He had like the grungy 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah,
His
in
suit
the
was all
dirty
dark and
uniform.
dirty.
He had a dirty Superman uniform. He had the shadow. He's drinking.
Yeah, man, he was a
Yeah, that was
drunk,
crazy.
son.
Yeah,
That was
that
that
was
was
a crazy one.
that one was old. Now I have to watch it probably next week. But
Yeah,
we
that one
going
was
off on
crazy.
tangents.
Hey, it's a Gen X tangent, so y'all
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, it
Hopefully, y'all
is.
remember Superman 3 and 4.
Yes, yes, man. So these are the things that'll last for forever, or close to forever.
Alan Weissman actually describes that as a legacy for us, which is like, again, it's not what you think of typically when you hear the word legacy. Like you think of kind of positive things more so, like
Yeah.
but it makes me remember that whatever you're leaving behind is part of your legacy, and it also speaks to like what are we gonna do about what our responsibility as having dominion over this planet. Are we
Mhm.
going to continue to do the same behaviors? Like, are we going to continue to make more plastics and actually
Yeah.
leave it everywhere? Because they're saying like even with the plastic we have today, there's basically no way to remove that stuff from where it
Yeah.
is. There's no way to turn this back. So and I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Like maybe
Yeah.
somebody will come up with some way to clean up or some way to recycle or
Hmm.
something. Like humans are very innovative, and with the advent of artificial intelligence, maybe that's something that somebody's already working on. I don't know.
Yeah, he says we leave a permanent mark on the planet, basically, with plastics, metals, and also altered soil and atmosphere. That's another thing he touches
Mm.
on. And he says how when we are gone, farmland will just, crops will pretty much die, and like the wild vegetation will come back in its place. And we've messed with the soil so much. All the pesticides and all the chemicals that we've been pumping into the soils, which has been killing the soil. If you're our age and the old, especially the Gen X generation, you remember how much difference fruit tasted when we were younger. You know how sweeter
I barely remember, to be
it
honest with
was when we weren't eating candy.
you. I
You know what I'm
barely
saying?
remember.
But
Yeah.
the fruit tastes different, man. I eat a lot of fruit, so I
Right.
remember the fruit tastes different. But it's because of the destruction of the crops. They're not as nutrient
You
dense
know,
as they used to be.
you know what I noticed, Rance? Now that you touch on that, right? Like, so
Mhm.
every year, pretty much, me and the family go strawberry picking, right?
Mm.
And the whole point of this, I'll keep this brief, but like, I didn't go this year because I was busy doing something else. But my wife took the kids, and they went strawberry picking. So they brought back some strawberries, and I tasted one of the strawberries, and it tasted completely different than even the ones in the supermarket. I felt like I forgot what a strawberry tasted like, but this was like you said, like maybe the soil. And maybe this, I don't know what it was, man. Like maybe it's a fertilizer they're using, and maybe that's because in this strawberry patch, that's what they're specializing in, where they went. And maybe they're doing some whatever good techniques they're doing, but the strawberry was sweeter. It obviously tasted fresher, and I guess the ones in the supermarket, they're traveling for a while. They're doing
Yeah.
something to make sure that it travels well and that it lasts at least till you buy it out of the supermarket. Because the thing with strawberries, and I know if I'm going off on another tangent, but I don't know if you ever noticed this, man. When you buy strawberries out of the supermarket, they're pretty much like got
Oh,
a
they're
time,
dead.
like, yeah, they have like a time bomb in them.
They're
Like
dead, bro.
as soon as you put them in the refrigerator, you come back the next day or two, there are gremlins in there. Like they turn into mogwai. Like I'm
They
like,
got
what?
they have white
Yeah,
beards. They have white beards.
yeah. Yeah, strawberries don't last 2 days in my house.
Yeah.
As soon as I put them in the fridge, I come back, they're white. They're like
Yeah.
furry. They're all
Yeah,
furry. I'm
man.
like, what is going on here?
They need a shave, especially when you wash them and you rinse them, because you wash them and you rinse your. You put them in the fridge. You put them. You get home when you first bring. It's like a trick. When you first get home, you taste it. It's the like, yo, this is. I can't wait. Tomorrow I'm gonna do this. Put in the smoothie. Tomorrow I'm gonna do this. The next day,
Yeah.
son, they got
Now, yeah.
sideburns.
Yeah, strawberries are like treacherous, it's like it's the most treacherous fruit. And I love strawberries, but they're so treacherous. As soon as you get them home, like I said, like you open that fridge, like,
Wrap. That's a wrap. It's
you got
after
the
midnight.
gremlins too in there.
Once your strawberries past midnight in the fridge.
Yeah, you got gremlins too.
It's crazy.
What is going on in there? You got
Yeah,
like
because
cocoons.
most fruit is picked. They even take them off the vine before they ripen, and then they have to travel in the trucks across country. Who knows what happens? So you're getting these things sometimes a week after they were actually picked. So you were picking strawberries right, fresh off the vine when they were in their prime. It's nothing like them. It's like you in your 20s again. It's your best self. It's your best self.
But that's what I noticed. There's a huge difference even between the ones that my kids picked, like I said,
Yeah.
and the ones that you would get in the supermarket. And I guess it should be obvious, right? Like you're picking them, they're fresher. You're picking them right off the vine, as opposed to like putting them in a truck to travel and doing whatever they have to do to make sure that they make it to the supermarket and could sit there long enough for you to buy them. But it just like was a stark difference to your point, like where like you're remembering how fruit used to taste when we were younger, as
Mhm.
opposed to how it tastes today. But I feel like just the process of it going to the supermarket and making it available for sale changes a lot to it as well, right?
Yeah, but imagine all the wild fruits and vegetables that'll be growing with us not here, not able to eat
Oh
that
man, I'm sorry
deliciousness.
we're gonna
Yeah,
miss that. We're gonna miss out.
the animals are gonna be like, yo, son, thank God they're not here, B. This food never tasted so good, son. And we don't
Yeah,
have to look over our shoulder
yeah.
either. So the
Remember that
food
from
never.
that this reminds me of like you were saying, like I Am Legend.
Hmm.
How in that movie, because like what I don't know if people like know or have seen I Am Legend, right? But Will Smith plays this character that's kind of going through the world during like a zombie apocalypse, basically, where there's a chemical that's turned most people into basically zombies.
Yeah, it was like a cure for cancer they found. It's always like a cure
Right.
for
It's a
cancer in all
cure.
these movies.
It starts out as
Mhm.
a good thing, like where they're trying to cure cancer, but it winds up turning a lot of people into basically wild zombies. And so Will Smith is one of the last survivors where he is, and he's walking around. And in some scenes in the movie, you're seeing that because people, that's a total breakdown in civilization, obviously, because people are not out and about, the world is kind of healed itself in a sense, right?
Mhm.
Like since we're not out there, you're seeing all the foliage come back. Like it's kind of in the backdrop of the movie, right? But it
Yeah.
feels like a kind of a very consequential part of the movie, even though they don't really touch on it or speak on it. But it's in the backdrop. You're seeing that animals are out. Like he sees deer just out and about, right? What seemed to have been a city setting, right? So
Yeah.
even in a place that was really urban, quote unquote, you see that return of like foliage and animals coming back, and you see that nature is retaking the earth, right?
Yeah.
um but that's an interesting aspect of that movie, even though that's not really the point of the movie at all.
Yeah.
um is something that I definitely noticed and I picked up on.
Yo, side note, did you ever read the book?
I read some of the book, like I've read excerpts from the book because I was really interested in at one point I wanted to understand whether or not the book was aligned with the movie. Because when the movie came out, there was a little bit of controversy that had come out that it really didn't really align well
Yeah,
with the movie at all.
it did,
And
but
when I
it
read
didn't. Mm-hmm.
but when I read the parts of the book that I did read, I'm like, this would have made a much better and more interesting movie, to be honest
Son,
with you. Because yeah, I
it's
don't want to spoil it for
nah,
everybody,
son. We
but
gotta throw a spoiler alert because ain't nobody gonna read that book, son.
we don't.
Ain't nobody,
You don't think the audience is reading? Like I think the
I
audience
think our
reads.
audience reads a lot, but you know what? I'm not gonna give a spoiler alert. I'm gonna give a spoiler alert without telling the real plot twist. But it is similar in the way that the main character, I think the book was written by Richard Matheson, I believe, and it is the similar with it's the man who lost his wife and his daughter
Yeah.
violently to this virus. They were trying to find a cure, but it ended up turning people into like these blood-sucking night walkers or whatever they call them. And he
Mhm.
was like the last probably human alive. But every day he would have to like board himself into his house, and he would go out and he would conduct experiments, and he would try to find some type of a cure. But where the movie differs from the book is that there's a plot twist in the book which would have been so much better if they made the movie about it.
Yeah, the whole thing would have been better, man. And
Yeah.
like to your point, like spoiler alert, it's almost like the book reads more like a vampire book, right? Like
Yeah. Because it's
it reads.
garlic and all types of
Yeah,
stuff.
it reads more
Mhm.
like a vampire horror type of story, right? Where you have these creatures that come out, and you know the main character's locked in, like you said, like he has to lock himself up and board himself in.
Mhm.
And in the book, they're actually calling out to him every day, like every night.
Yeah, they're talking to him.
They come and they call out to him, they talk to him, they're
They
kind of
jump
like
on the roof of his house.
they try to taunt him, and that's why he has to actually board up everything and lock everything down because they're actually coming for him every night, right? And
Yeah.
then you realize that he's the only one on Earth left as a normal human, and he's the actual villain. Like that's kind of the reason for the I Am Legend title, because he is actually the legend
Yeah, son,
that these
you just spoiled. I tried to save it and but you know what? Since we there, we there. Yeah,
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 go ahead,
that's the,
because
well, there go the plot twist.
you
You know what I
guys are
mean?
not going
There's
to
the
read I
twist.
Am Legend, right? Like you're not going to read I Am Legend. I'm sure you
Yeah,
guys
they
read a
not gonna
lot, but
read it. I look not after the Will Smith
yeah,
movie.
you saw the movie. You're not going to go
You
read
saw
the
the
book
movie.
now.
You're not gonna really read it. So the plot twist is that he's actually the boogeyman to them.
Right. To them, yeah, he's
To
the
them,
boogeyman.
he's actually the boogeyman.
Right.
You
So many
know,
years
he's the
have passed
legend.
that like society has, like he thinks that these folks are monsters now
Mm-hmm.
because of this virus, but what's actually happened is that the whole world has basically become something different, right? Like it's caused sort of an evolution that made them what he would think of as monsters, but he's the only one left of the old world, right? So when he goes out during the day, he's actually going out not only trying to find whatever cure or trying to find others like him, but he's actually killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that from the book, but he actually kills them, you
Yeah, he
know?
kills him. He's
Like
the
he finds them
boogeyman.
sleeping. Yeah, he finds them
He's John Wick.
sleeping. Yeah, if he finds them sleeping, he kills them, right?
He's the Baba Yaga.
So so in the end, you know, they kind of capture him and they bring him to where they are, and they let him know that he's like I think it's a child that actually tells him like he like that the parents, he's the story that they tell their children
Yeah.
about this boogeyman that's gonna come kill them every day, right?
Yeah.
Like he comes to kill them.
It's the woman that he meets. Actually, the woman that he meets in the movie,
Yeah,
you know, is the one that he meet, and what he realizes that he's the only human, but there are humans who aren't like the night walkers. They're like Blade. They're like day
right.
walkers, so to
Yeah,
speak. You
yeah,
know, and they've built their own society.
right.
And they built and they're trying to rebuild humanity, so to speak, but they also dislike the night walkers. So he actually, I believe he like kills her husband, and then she tells him like, look, bro, like I know you think you might be trying to do something here, but we're actually hunting you because you are like the
Yeah, you're
mythical
the monster.
you're the
Yeah,
monster that has killed a lot of our family members, our loved ones, and our
right.
friends.
Yeah.
You know, so we're actually needing to get rid of you because you're the one that like you're the
He's the
boogeyman. You're
legend.
the
He's the
legend,
legend.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so he's like, yo, I am legend,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
so that's the real reason for the book title, I Am Legend, because he realizes that he's the story that people tell their children
Yeah.
about this person that's gonna come and kill them, the
If you
boogeyman,
don't eat
right?
your vegetables,
So that's
yeah.
why it's I Am Legend. But the movie goes off on a completely different kind of direction with this. And
Yeah.
it doesn't follow the book at all. And I really feel like the book would have been a much better
It'd have been a way better movie, man.
yeah, it would have been a much better twist and a much better adaptation, right? Because I've seen an alternate ending to the Will Smith movie,
Yeah, I saw that craziness too, man.
and it felt like they tried to like kind of parallel what the theme was in the book a little bit, like where they
Mhm.
show that he's trying to cure one of their women,
Yeah.
and really they're going after him because they just want to they just want to save her from him
Yeah.
and just bring her back to wherever they live, right?
Mhm.
And that's what the alternate ending shows. And I think that they were trying in a weird way to kind of parallel the book a little bit more. But it doesn't do it justice, but obviously.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really do the book justice. But yeah.
Yeah. So now that we have told you the book and everything,
It's still
you
worth
know,
reading
still
the
go
book.
read it. Yo, it's a great book. It's
Yeah,
fantastic. It's
it's a
so
good
much
book.
different. It's so different from the movie
Yeah.
that it's worth the read. It's worth the
Yeah.
read. Like
Yeah.
I had read the book before I saw the movie, so while I'm looking at the movie, I was like, "Oh man, it was good."
But they
But
made it
it,
more of like an action Will
yeah,
Smith movie. Like if you're gonna have Will Smith in a movie,
yeah,
like that, it's almost like you need to have a lot of action, and you want to have like some suspense in there, and the book is a little more like cerebral. Like you got to
yeah,
really think about what you're reading, and it's a little more thoughtful than a Will Smith action movie needs to be, right? Like so
hmm,
really like they turned it into a straight up zombie movie, like where you got
yeah.
Will Smith trying to
Doing pull-ups with his
cure.
shirt off and running on a treadmill with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dog. Like there is a dog in the book, but it's not like, you know, and he is actually trying to like save people, but the book is way like darker. Like, you know, he's really depressed. You see it in the movie where he tries to like go out and like just kill himself, but in the book it's like he's a drunk. He's you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So, Dag, we're off on this episode is springing all types of roots and branches. So there you go. There's your book and
Yeah, we're
movie
off on a tangent.
your book and movie. But
We are on a tangent, ladies and gentlemen.
they
Welcome to
also
the tangent
welcome
train.
to the tangent show. He also talks about the oceans and the wildlife, wildlife coming back and surging because of all of the overfishing. We're like just totally stripping the ocean up. But one thing that I read that was interesting that he
Huh.
theorized that um rats and cockroaches will be on the decline when there are no humans because they're so dependent on us.
That makes a lot of sense, actually,
You know,
because we produce so much waste and there's so much food around because of us that rats and
yeah,
roaches actually
migrate
thrive.
towards
They thrive.
cities.
Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
thrive wherever we are concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
Rats and roaches would tend to thrive, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, but the theme, like I guess one of the themes that strikes me right with this book, right, not just like kind of the factual parts about what happens at each phase as the Earth as we're gone. There's kind of phases that you're describing, right? Like the first few minutes and the first few years, and then the first 100 years or 500 years, so on, right? But what also strikes me is kind of like the nature of the Earth, right? Like the indifference that the Earth has to humankind, right? Like where like I said, like there's a hubris in us where we really think that we're the center of the universe here. Like we really think that we're the masters of all of this. We have dominion over this earth. And it begs the question, do we really? What are we really? Like what is our position here really? Are we just kind of absorbing resources? Are we here to like be the kind of stewards of this? And then how are we handling that responsibility, right? And then like you said, like this whole question of what happens after we leave or after we're gone from the earth, and how it actually would heal itself to a certain extent, but we're leaving also like a negative legacy in terms of things that would just never go away. Like, and those things tend to be more damaging than
Yeah.
anything, right? Like, but what strikes me is this book. It speaks to themes that have probably been going on for a very long time that surprised me. Because when you told me about this book actually, and it uh, like kind of coincidentally, my daughter was studying something in school that had like kind of a not exactly the same theme, but very parallel, right? Like
Mhm.
she comes to me one day and she asked me if I ever read Ray Bradbury, and I was like, yeah, I read. I thought about it for a second, and I had to think for a moment, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have read Ray Bradbury because Ray Bradbury actually wrote the book Fahrenheit 451. And I'm not going to spend a long time on that, but just to let everybody know, Ray Bradbury wrote like one of his more famous books, I guess, and he probably has a bunch, right? But one of the books that I think Rance, we both had to read it at one point for school,
Yeah.
but this is a book where it's kind of a like a dystopian future type of book, right? Like where instead of the fire department being called to put out fires, we're in a future where books have been banned. So if you get caught with a book, or if somebody finds out that you have a book in the home, or you're reading a book, the fire department would actually come and burn your home down. They'll burn the books and they'll burn the house down. And if you refuse to leave, they'll burn the house down with you in it. But the point is that Ray Bradbury also wrote a short story called There Will Come Soft Rains. And in that short story, the profound part about this is that this is written in 1950, by the way. So he writes this short
Mhm.
story. It's 1950. We're on the tail of like, right after World War II. So this comes out right after World War II, pretty much. Um, and in 1950, he's writing a short story about a completely automated home. It automates everything. The kitchen is automated to make breakfast in the morning. The house is automated with like robot mice that come out and clean up. Like if there's a spill or if there's any dust or if there's anything, like these robot mice will come out in the story and they clean up. There's a wall that tells you the time and the weather and stuff like that. So picture like this type of automation, like a completely automated home. But the eerie part about the story is that there's no one in this home, right? Because it where it takes place in this town in California, and there's been a nuclear war. And as a result of the nuclear war, pretty much everyone's dead, right?
Mhm.
And the story explains that nothing's left in that house of the humans except for their silhouettes on the wall. Because apparently during some sort of explosion, a nuclear explosion, all that's left is their outlines on the walls, and that's the kids and the husband and the wife. And as this house remains with this technology, it just keeps making breakfast, it keeps making the food, it keeps reading stories that is scheduled to read to the kids, it keeps reading poetry that is scheduled to read for the wife, and it's still telling you the date and the time, right, over and over. But the point is that this technology will go on regardless of the human masters, so to speak, being there, right?
Mhm.
And so and it speaks to the indifference of not only the technology to us, even the technology that we created to serve us is pretty much indifferent to us, right? Our presence there after a while is not even a necessity because it'll just keep going without us, right? And that's kind of a whole nother topic to kind of contemplate, but it also speaks in parallel to the indifference of nature to us, because that short story is also based on a poem of the same name. This poem, and I'm trying to find the name of the person that actually wrote this poem. It'll come to me, man. But
Mhm.
Ray Bradbury took the name of this poem and named his short story this because at some point in his short story, the automated home reads the poem, and the poem is written, I think it's written in if I'm not mistaken, like 1920, right? So that's on the tail end of World War One, and that is about how even after a war, even after we would kill ourselves off, nature would remain, and not even not the birds, not the trees, nothing would actually mourn us. I'm kind of paraphrasing the poem.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it's saying. Like nature has an indifference to us, and even if we decide to create things that are kind of like the devices of our destruction or the
Mhm.
means of our destruction, nature will go on. There's kind of a transient nature to our power on this earth. Right? It's
It's
all
kind of like next species up.
yeah, exactly. Like Pretty much, man. Like
Yeah,
it talks about like the temporary nature of our power over this earth.
yeah,
Everything we're doing quite a bit of damage, but we're not even close to destroying the earth. But what we are doing again is destroying our ability to live on this earth. We overdevelop the means of our own destruction. The earth will continue on, and so will like technology for that matter, right? Like, so it's kind of a parallel because it makes me think of, as a technology person, I'm thinking like, wow, Ray Bradbury wrote this short story in 1950. It's being taught to kids in school now, even today, and it feels like it's more relevant than ever. I said before, like artificial intelligence is one of those examples where we've created something that may kind of outpace us, or is already kind of outpacing us in terms of
mhm,
intelligence. It's something that we just can't keep up with. Ability to learn, the speed it's going to learn, the speed it's going to be able to spread its learning to other machines. So it begs the question, especially nowadays, are we kind of building, or have we built the means of our own demise? There's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence replacing people in their jobs because AI can do knowledge work more
mhm.
efficiently, faster, and without complaint. It can work 24/7 and doesn't need a day off, doesn't need to talk to anyone in
Doesn't need a
HR,
cigarette break.
doesn't need a cigarette break, it
Doesn't
doesn't
need a
need therapy,
PTO.
it doesn't need PTO, it
Yeah,
doesn't need a mental health break, none
yeah,
of that type of thing. But the point is, have we created something that's just no longer serves us, but actually is replacing us, right? Like, so
mm,
and it really leads one to question, like, what is our what's our point? Like, what
yeah,
what are we doing here?
yeah,
And then, again, like the whole theme of the indifference of technology, indifference of nature to humans, is something that you really got to think about and pause for a second because it's humbling, right?
yeah.
Um, because we're reaching another one of those inflection points, and it's like similar to, especially with the technology, it's similar to what happened during like the 1940s, right? Like from 1942 to 1946, you had the Manhattan Project, right? Like where Robert Oppenheimer is working with a team of physicists to
Mhm.
basically create an atomic weapon before the Germans. And the crazy part is that when this happens, Robert Oppenheimer is quoted as saying, "I am become death,
The
the destroyer of worlds."
destroyer of worlds.
Right? And this whole theme makes me think of that, like where for a very, very long time, humans have been developing the means of their own demise. So yeah.
Yeah, that was
Happy times. Nah. Leave it to me to to make it
you know what
give me
it you know what it
happy
is? You've been too
happy
upbeat like our last few episodes. You've been on a too upbeat street. It was time. It was time, son. It was time.
Not
It
to
was
be
time.
morbid,
Not
but
to be morbid. It was time for a main minute, yo. We had a rant at the beginning. Now we have a main minute at the end about
yeah.
not to be morbid, son. So
Soon as I say not to be morbid, you better watch out.
yeah, man. But I mean, it is true when you think about it. Have we become so lazy? Do we want things so easy that we're willing to just give up everything that makes us top of the food chain? You
Right.
know, like is it to the point where we're just that lazy now that we want something to do everything so much
Right.
so that we're not even paying attention that it may be phasing us out.
Right, and that's
So
it,
think
and that's the
about that.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's an important thing, man, and it's like this the second time probably in history that we created something so potentially destructive that it it has the potential to to maybe be the last invention, right? Like, because
Yes.
like, and that's why I compare it to Robert Oppenheimer, who who actually by coincidence, or not, like, Robert Oppenheimer, his birthday is April 22nd, and it's the same date as Sam Altman, who is the CEO or the leader at OpenAI that makes ChatGPT. So
Mm.
I found that interesting that they have the same birthday, and they both are responsible in a way for introducing the world to a technology that has the potential to really, really shift human existence on this earth in a significant way, right? And maybe even lead to the demise of it. The nuclear weapon for obvious reasons, but then the artificial intelligence, which would, like you said, like the potential for it to phase us out, the potential for it for us to create automated autonomous weapons even, right? That don't
Hmm.
even need us, don't need humans anymore to make a decision on who and what to destroy, right?
Yeah.
Um and we've gotten there, right? Like we this is really like our Oppenheimer moment in terms of technology. Artificial intelligence has the ability to create itself, right? You have artificial intelligence that can obviously code, and
Yeah,
it
it
makes
can
it easier
replicate
for it can
easier.
replicate, it can spread itself easy. And there's also kind of the idea of the democratization of it, where like me and you can just take our computer, and if we spend enough time, we could build our own models. We can learn to automate things ourselves. We could print out enough parts to make a drone and make it AI capable. Like, so there's a danger in this that didn't exist with atomic energy. Like atomic energy,
Yeah,
me and you can't like go get uranium and enrich it to the point of making a weapon, but we could certainly buy a computer and start making artificial intelligence that it could potentially have a negative impact, right?
yeah.
So yeah, not to we're off on another tangent, I guess, but that's what the show is, the tangent. We should rename it
The
the
tangent,
tangent show.
Control Alt Tangent Delete.
Nah. But I feel like these themes may not be the same thing, but I feel like they're related. I said our position on this earth, and then the indifference of nature to us, and also the indifference of our own creation, which is the technology that we created to serve us, which at some point is becoming like, almost a danger to us, right? It's becoming like the alien species that's come to earth where with exponentially more intelligence than us,
Yeah.
right? And
Or if you
exponentially
watch a
more
lot of
efficient.
movies, Skynet.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, that's exactly right. Like,
You know?
when you talk about like the Terminator movies and the Matrix, you mentioned that earlier. Um, all these things kind of come to mind, right? Because you're talking about a super intelligent computer system that sort of, in a way, has all of our attention, basically, right? Like
Yeah.
we're already kind of staring at our screens for a dopamine hit. We're already unsure if what we're watching is real,
Yeah.
or if it's been created by some computer. It's already kind of destabilized things, right? Like it destabilizes our political systems, because we don't even know if it's bots talking to us on in our chats and in our news. So we're already kind of down a rabbit hole, to be honest with you, of like we're forced to kind of question everything, including
Yeah.
how much autonomy we actually have, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really going down a rabbit hole with this that I'm afraid, honestly, is not really reversible without some real kind of cataclysmic event, right?
Yeah.
Something really have to happen for us to reverse course as a society. That's like, again, I don't mean to be morbid, but like, yeah, this whole thing leads me to that conclusion of, like, when you bring up a book like Alan Weissman's book, The World Without Us, it leads me to all these themes that are kind of like not exactly the same, but like I said, they're parallel, right? Like when you think about what's going to happen if we're no longer needed, right? What happens when no work is needed? Because
Yeah.
robots and computers are replaced us in every single way. Like not only just knowledge work now, but we're getting put to a place where they're developing robots that have tactile skills, like that can do things with their robot hands, that can deliver food, can screw in a light bulb, can work on an assembly line, can pack boxes, can, you name it, right? Like
Yeah.
eventually, and if you think about it, Rance, like when you think about the technology today, right now in this moment, is the worst that the technology is ever going to be, right? And that's saying something, because it's
It's pretty
pretty good.
advanced.
It's pretty
Yes.
advanced. It's pretty
Yeah.
powerful, but it's scary when you think that this is the worst that it's going to be, right? It's only going to get better. It's only going to become more efficient. It's only going to become more adept at the tasks that we do today. What does happen if we're just no longer required to be on Earth? Because
Yeah.
there's just nothing for us to do.
They was just up in a ship somewhere.
Yeah. We're just on
You
a
know what I mean?
giant space yacht,
Yeah,
eating and
space
drinking,
shot, just eating, drinking, have
sitting
everything
around,
done for
sitting
us.
around,
While
doing nothing, forgetting how to do everything.
little Wally's cleaning up
All of our waste
the
is getting cleaned
planet
up.
until he finds one sprout of hope, probably from Maine sprouting jar.
Yeah.
But one of the places that he says that are still like one of the last refuge, I guess you
Hmm.
could say, is out in Poland, and it's called hold on, I gotta write the Pushka Bialueska. Pushka Bialueska. And
Hmm.
that's like, you can go, if you go there, that's like what you get a glimpse of what the world will look like without us, because they say the trees are huge. It's dead quiet at night. All you hear is like the howling of the wolves or the hooting of the owls. It's just so serene and so quiet. And even now they're saying that and well, not even now. So you know what? I should look up 2026, because this was written in 2007. That they're trying to like destroy parts of that
Uh-huh.
for, for infrastructure. And also he talks about the African paradox. Did you hear about that?
No.
Because basically life and evolution started on the continent of Africa, early humans lived in relative harmony with the ecosystem. The newer lands such as Europe and the Americans, it was kind of a shock to nature's system, because all of a sudden they just moved in. They moved in with their machines, chopping down trees, um, and creating this infrastructure, laying concrete, building buildings, destroying nature, putting animals on the endangered species list. And these animals and such, they weren't expecting this. They said since life and everything, evolution pretty much started on the continent of Africa, the
Uh-huh.
animals, the animals over there are kind of used to seeing us do bad do bad things. He calls it the African paradox. So that's why you still also have the biggest animals are there. I think he calls that the hold on, I wrote the megafauna paradox, where Africa is the only place where they still have lions and elephants and rhinos, like all of the biggest. Like
Right.
you have elephants in Asia, and you have like Bengal tigers in Asia, but you
Right.
don't have
Right.
like all of the mammoths, the behemoths in one place as
Yeah. Now that you say that, I do
Mhm.
remember this. I do remember this part because he talks about
Yeah,
like how like in
Africa's more it would be the more biodegradable
right,
towards the
like
end.
right, yeah, and he also talks about like how we kind of destroyed so many species, um like coming like in a place like North America, like we came and there were once like bigger animals and more, the animals had dominion over a lot of land, and
Yeah,
but humans came in and basically destroyed them. They either hunted them out or destroyed their
yeah,
habitats or like but yeah, like I do remember that part. Now that you mentioned this, I forgot about that, but yeah.
yeah.
um
It was an interesting concept, and he even talked about like the Serengeti and stuff, and how even some parts now, like the Serengeti, it had to be there's certain parts that has to be like designated by
mhm.
humans because of the way that we just rip and roar and destroy through things. But that's the last like biodegradable area. He says there will be the least have the what do they call it, the carbon footprint. That was very interesting too. And I didn't realize, well, I did, but I forgot how to differentiate between the African elephant and the Asian elephant. Is the African elephant has bigger ears and the Asian elephant has like two knots on the top of its head.
Hmm.
And
That's
it's
interesting.
yeah, and it's like 11 feet tall, while the African elephant is like 13 and a half feet. There's all these little differences between them that I had forgotten about. I had read when I was younger, but I had forgotten about. So that's a little bit of, excuse me, a little tidbit of information for you. Now you're getting all types of jewels today, all
Yeah, this
types of
is
stuff.
you're getting the good tangents.
Son, this is like a gumbo right here. This is like a gumbo of just we going left, we going right, we going around. You know what I'm saying? We just breaking off into all types of tangents. I spend a lot of time thinking now as a father of small children about what am I going to leave for them? And this is one of the other things that I thought about while I was we were talking about this episode. What am I going to leave? What are you going to leave for your children? You can't just say I'll be gone when things get really bad, and just leave it to the next and leave it to the next, because that's what kind of got us here in the first place. I think I said it the last episode, just do small things here and there. We only get one planet, dogs. We sound
Right.
like activists now, but you know what I'm saying? We only
Yeah.
get one planet to live on, and I want my
Right.
kids to enjoy the same things that I've gotten to enjoy walking through parks. Imagine if there's no Central Park anymore, like we just destroy Central Park,
Right.
or
Right.
imagine Central Park being Central Park without us being here to enjoy it, to see
Right. Right.
it.
Right. No, it's important, man. Like you said, like we're not activists, but I feel like some of the things that you and I talk about, it leads me to think in a different way, right? Like, and to be more concerned because of the fact that I'm getting information that I probably wouldn't otherwise get if we weren't really touching on these things and kind of doing, we go back and we do our little research. Like we know quite a bit already, but like we go back and we kind of like re-review things and we find parallels, we find like these different threads, right? Like as we're going over these things. And as we're even discussing them during the podcast, to be honest, like in real time, like we kind of put together these threads, and sometimes it just leads you to think, like, wow, I'm more concerned with this than I was previously, right? Like, and I'm hoping that to a certain extent, like we're spreading that because it's not about like quote unquote activism in the way that folks might think of it, but it is it is a type of activism, though. Like in terms of like that's part of why we started this is to start conversations that get people thinking or that are of value or people that can relate to. And you never know, like we might be the people that may not set off any sort of real revolution, but we might spark the mind of someone that does, right? Like like
Tupac. That's a Tupac quote, son.
Oh yeah, I was wondering where I got that
Yes,
from.
that's a Tupac quote.
Yeah.
Oh, he throwing the Tupac quotes in here, son.
Mike. I knew I didn't make that up. But yeah,
son.
so but yeah, we might be the ones that kind of spark the mind of somebody that will make a significant change or will just spread the word, right? Because maybe it's not all about making some sort of drastic change right now, but maybe it's about spreading the word and making people a little more aware of it or making it something that people just start thinking about a little more, right?
Yeah.
Because we are having an impact, like whether we know it or not. Like whether or not you know it, you're leaving something, right? Now it's up to you what that is. Like it's up to you to be more intentional about what it is you leave. But everybody leaves a legacy, right? And sometimes if you're not intentional about it, then you don't know what you're leaving as your legacy. But if you're intentional about it, maybe you have some control over that. Maybe you purposefully leave something, like you said, for our children, for the next generation, for the people around you, for your friends. Be intentional about what it is. What will be your legacy is really up to you, really.
Oh, there's that word again.
What's that?
Intentional.
Intentional.
We
got to we got to get the intentional shirts or something.
Man. And you made reference in our Gil Scott Heron episode where you talked about how he felt, what can you do to make a difference? And he felt his talent was making music and spoken word. That's his part. Now, our talent may not be podcasting, but
we're going to do it anyway.
We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is just our little part that we feel that we can play to get the word out there, just to make people to think, just to have you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right though. Like he talks about like, making sure you use whatever it is you have, right? Like when you're in any sort of like struggle or facing any sort of challenge, you should use what you have. Use the tools that are available to you, right? The tool for him was his own talent in spoken word and making music and spreading the word in that way. And we're using the tools that are available to us right now.
So that's it. You got anything else?
I got one more thing.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So as Gen Xers, it just occurred to me like recently that Gen X is the first generation, and this is just like a little fun fact, but Gen X is the first generation to grow up with the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Oh,
if you think about
I did
that,
not know that.
So if you think about it, it's the Voting Rights Act, was implemented in 1965, and that's pretty much that line of demarcation where you have Gen Xers being born that year, right? Like so, Gen Xers, I think from like
65 to 80.
Yeah, actually, yes, 1965 to 1980. You're absolutely right. Yes, we're the first generation that's post Voting Rights Act, right? So it's an interesting fact. The first generation to grow up with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 with post Voting Rights Act.
Think on that.
Yep.
Little gem for you. Drop a gem for you.
Yep.
or as we say, bars.
Bars.
So, this concludes our latest episode of the Gen Expertise podcast. Shout out to our now day 38s, our day ones, and everyone in between. And as usual, and as always, shout out to our day one. Oh, and I want to give another special shout out to my man, Lightning Rob. I'm not going to say his real name because he doesn't use his real name on any of his social medias or anything. My man, Lightning Rob, who I went to college with, who he always posts, he always reposts our stuff and puts it in our stories, our little clips and stuff. So shout out to you. That's my boy. He's from DC. He taught me how to do the hee-haw down in when I was down in school there, the DMV area. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you, brother. You know who you are. And you know what, man?
Since we are prolific.
That's right. We are prolific. We will be back next Wednesday. Same Gen X time. Same Gen X place. Power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.